Hey everybody, and welcome to LUYL, where our goal is to help you to level up your life. Our special guest today is a man that I've gotten to know very well, Bryan Irvin. We flew Army helicopters together in the Kansas Army National Guard, and he is, a man of many talents. He does a lot of things. Him and his wife stay very busy, and they have a 2-year-old and another one on the way. So I'm excited for Bryan to tell his story and for us to be able to share it with you today. Bryan, tell our listeners, viewers, a little bit about yourself.
Well, first off, thanks for having me.
I'm happy to have you here. I appreciate your time.
I'm humbled you thought of me, man, honestly. So, yeah, like you said, I am still doing the Army pilot thing in the Kansas National Guard. I've been in it for 12 years now. And a bit about myself. So I was a military bat. I grew up traveling around the world. My father was in the Marine Corps. Bounced around from place to place to place. I never really had a place to call home. So home was where I made it. I learned that at a very young age. I followed in my grandfather's footsteps and I joined the Army. He was actually a Huey mechanic. And the advice he gave to me was enlist first and then decide if you want to commission to be an officer or be a warrant officer and go from there. So one of our last conversations we had together, we shared that bit of information, and he was the catalyst that launched my career. So he's the reason why I'm here.
Well, we're glad for that conversation and that catalyst. I'm glad that got to meet you, fly with you, and continue our relationship to this day, even though I've been out for 3 years now. So I'm glad we're able to keep in communication.
Yeah, that's life, man. But brothers stick around together forever.
Absolutely. So you've been working full time at the flight facility there in Topeka, Kansas, and tell us about your streaming stuff a little bit. You're the Sriracha Samurai.
Well, I was going hard at it for a few years. It did take a back burner for a little bit because I had to realign my focus. So what was it, about March of last year, I was talking with a buddy from work and he was like, oh man, I really want to get back into college and I want to finish college. I'm at X amount of credits, but I don't know if that's the jump I want to make. And I was like, hey man, if you do it, I'll do it, because I'm kind of in the same boat, and let's just be a catalyst for each other, get this started off, and we'll see it through to the end. If he enrolls and he gives me proof that he enrolls, then I will follow suit. The very next month, he gave me the proof. I enrolled. I got in classes, and I actually got my bachelor's this past December. So with me having to align my focuses to that immediate goal, to work, the streaming itself actually did, kind of fall to the wayside for a little bit. But now that I'm kind of getting things together, I can't wait to get back to streaming. I can't wait for, just honestly, it's the community. I don't go for, top-notch gameplay or anything like that. You just come, enjoy the environment, relax, decompress from whatever stresses the real world throws at you, and laugh. I'm going to die a lot in games.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
Yeah.
So I want to hit you giddy up to that for just a second, and pardon my cowboy slang there, but so you had a friend that wanted to do something to better himself and to make it happen together. You guys, attached each other. You created a environment of accountability, and you use that on a daily, weekly, monthly basis, whatever it might have been, so that you guys could be accountable to each other to get that done that may or may not have happened otherwise. It's exactly what we're trying to do here at LUYL. We're trying to create an environment where you have a relationship with someone based on, mutual respect, and one of you being in a position that the other one wants to get to. So having that accountability, having that, this isn't exactly a mentor or mentee situation, but it was kind of both at the same time, was it not?
Very much so. So it was much more of like, a peer led progression project, right? I wasn't actively looking to finish my diploma. Of course, it was a thought that would linger from time to time, but just the way the stars lined up and he reached out to me, of all people to have this conversation with, I was like, okay, there is an inherent meaning behind this conversation. So why not act on it? And the only thing that could see that through to fruition was our discipline. Like, I'm going to hold you accountable, but then I'm also going to be disciplined and hold myself accountable. Let's get this done.
Absolutely. So you were both able to, band together and use that to mutually gain, by finishing your education. So anything else you want to tell them about your life before we go into obstacles?
Um, about my life. Life is busy, man. Life is full of obstacles. My life right now is one constant 50-meter target to the next while being mindful of the future. So,
Absolutely.
nothing crazy. As you get older and you're thrown into adulthood and the real world, guess what? The obstacles don't go away, they're going to multiply, and you have to be willing to adapt.
Absolutely. So, can you tell us about an obstacle that you feel had a major effect on your life? Something that, may have caused you to take a step back and think, oh man, how am I going to get through this? Or how am I going to move on to tomorrow? And tell us about how that affected you, how you got past it, whether, it was a relationship with somebody else that helped you push it through, or what that situation was like for you.
So many obstacles. Uh, I'm going to throw three at you just right out the gate. So, first obstacle was when my biological mother split, and I was about 5 years old at the time. That was a tough obstacle. I had to process that as a child. Not the hardest, but that is, honestly one of those lifelong processes and learnings that you have to overcome and readdress and overcome. Next one, my first marriage, um, just didn't end up working out. Uh, that's a tough obstacle when people have that rough split of someone you were very close to. The hardest obstacle, and you know it, you've helped me through it, was losing my firstborn son. And of all the things I've been through, that is by far eclipses anything, because that shook me to the foundation of my beliefs, of my character, of everything. It came down to I didn't have the motivation or the willpower to just get up in the day to do the menial tasks throughout the day. And I'm talking every layer. It could be brushing your teeth, making your bed, taking out the trash, just, existing, right? Like, it just became this insurmountable task. Um, and what honestly carried me through that, the biggest portion was my peers, you know, like your close friends, your family that will carry you through those hard times. That's what genuinely got me through it. I still, to this day, and for the rest of my life, that is going to be an obstacle that I constantly struggle with every single day. Now, what carries me even now is my discipline. And I wanted to bring this up with you and to anyone listening who may have uh, obstacles they're currently going through. And it doesn't have to be my situation specifically, but something that makes it hard for them to just process everyday life, right? Discipline will carry you through it. Um, and I say that in stark contrast to motivation. Motivation is a great thing. It's wonderful to be motivated, but motivation is fickle. It will be here one day and it will be gone the next. You can't rely on just motivation alone to get you through challenges. Discipline Discipline is a practice that only gets sharpened over time if you challenge it, if you challenge yourself. And it's that old saying that they say iron sharpens iron, right? Your mind is out to defeat you. And if you let it, it will completely envelop everything. And you're not going to be able to see past the problem and look at the possible solutions and move on from that. So the importance of discipline, it permeates every layer of your life. Earlier, like I said, brushing your teeth. Guess what? Day gets busy really quick for us. 5:30 in the morning, you're already up and having to get stuff done. You know, doing the laundry, getting to work on time, taking care of, if you're married, taking care of your wife. If you have kids, taking care of your kids. Allotting time for the family, making sure you don't get complacent or fall behind on work. So every facet of your life requires some degree of discipline. And the sooner you mold it and you sharpen it as a tool to work for you instead of against you, the better.
Absolutely. So, to make a long story short for everybody, Bryan was in the middle of something that was already stressful. He was in the middle of Army flight school down at what used to be Fort Rucker in Alabama. And while in a course that's very taxing physically, mentally, emotionally, all of those things, Bryan's son had an accident at the pool. It was at the pool on base, right?
Mm-hmm.
I just let me know if I go off or say something that's not exactly right. But
Yeah, of
you
course.
know, so Bryan was in the middle of something that was already very taxing beyond just living life, being in Army flight school, and had something terrible happen within his family. And like you said, the most mundane of tasks can seem incredibly huge when something like that happens. So you kind of got onto the next question of what did you do to continue moving forward, pursuing successes in your life. Let's put that together with the next thing. And if our listeners in that same situation, they're going through a stressful piece of their life, and something crazy happens, they don't feel like they can move on to the next day. If you could go back to the day before, the day after, I mean, you obviously can't change what happened in the past, but if you could talk to yourself or talk to a listener that's going through something like that, what would you tell them?
If you're in the moment of whatever obstacle it is,
Yeah, the thing just happened and they feel like, the sun won't come up tomorrow. What
absolutely,
would you tell that
absolutely.
person?
It's so fresh in my mind because I still process it every day. What I would tell you is it is okay to take a knee. Like you're gonna have something that shatters you, and you gotta sit there and pick yourself up and piece yourself back together. But it is okay to take that knee, to sit there and just process, whether it's grief, whether it's anger, frustration, confusion. you know you're just completely at a loss of what to do. Take that break for yourself. I don't know how long it is. you know it varies from person to person, but as you're in that air of challenge and you feel like there's no way out, focus on completing the small tasks. When you get up, make your bed, do the dishes, like whatever one small task you can achieve in that day, do it. The next day, do that plus one. What does that mean? So one day you made your bed, the next day make your bed, do the dishes. The day after, make your bed, do the dishes, go for a run. You see how that kind of pulls you out of that rut that you're in, and it builds on that discipline you have to just get out and keep doing things. It's going to pull you out of the mental rut that you're stuck in. And once you're able to sit there and pull yourself out of that emotional state, whatever it may be, and it pushes you back into a logical state of mind, then you could start moving forward. And then once you get to that point, you keep moving forward. That's it.
Absolutely. And, I'm a firm believer, having not experienced it myself, but, I've always heard that a parent should never have to bury their children. You've lived it.
Mm-hmm.
Another thing that, we've had discussions about that, you know, you, you brought up to me at one point or another is that you should definitely not isolate yourself. So in those situations, it can be easy to think that, I can't ask for help. I can't reach out and talk to somebody. Nobody wants to hear my problems. And that's exactly the opposite. So definitely get out into your network, touch base with your friends, touch base with your family, like you said.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely don't isolate yourself and take the problem alone. Get
And
out there and go ahead.
it's very interesting you bring that up. So that is one of my biggest weaknesses is I will isolate. My go-to is isolation. Now, you know the ragtag group of guys we got at work.
Yep.
They did not give me that option. Like they will forcibly pull me out. I kicking and screaming if they had to. But hey man, come out, we got this. Hey man, come out, we got that. And to their credit, they they did not give up on pulling me out of that space where I wanted to isolate. And that's why I say they're a big reason why I'm still here and why I'm still trying. You included.
I appreciate that. And, all I wanted to do was to make sure that you were still, pursuing life, making yourself better, making sure that you were going to become the man that you wanted despite all of the obstacles of life. And,
Mm-hmm.
that's why I definitely thought of you when this idea came up, and thought that, you have a story that will be compelling to people. This happens to people. And, it's one of the hardest things I've seen. And, I didn't have to go through it myself, but I'm thankful to have the relationship with you that I do. Following that, that happened before I knew Bryan, and I heard about the whole thing just as, a stranger. Hey, this happened,
Mm-hmm.
and you were coming to where I was going to meet you. So, that was a thing all in itself. So,
Yeah, and it's crazy. If you would have met me before, give me 1 second. I'm gonna. Sorry, I lost my train of thought. Where were we?
we were strangers when this happened, but, we built our relationship.
Oh
And
yeah. So what I was gonna say is, if that situation were to never have happened, and I can't go back in time and change it, you would have probably met a completely different me. Okay, you would have probably met the me that had ego, the me that had a chip on his shoulder, the me that was far more extroverted than introverted. Because you probably when you met me, you saw that I was slow to speak. Like yes, I was kind, but I didn't right away open up to people, you know. And what it really taught me as I was picking the pieces back up is humility. I've heard that word hundreds, if not thousands of times in my life. Didn't really care about it. But as I'm sitting there and piecing myself back together, figuring out what my moral compass was, figuring out what my character was, figuring out what I'm passionate about, it really centered around humility. And it was, I no longer compared myself to peers, to any enemy. I don't have enemies, but I no longer compared myself to others. My sole focus was being better than the me I was yesterday. And that coupled with discipline is what really led me to like refine where I'm at today. And you see it now. Like I'm a total gym rat, but I'm like the most shy gym rat you've ever met. Like I'll just go work out, headphones in, hoodie on. do my
Yep.
workout, and bounce. But
I made
it
Brian really
really,
uncomfortable when I came and stayed the night and made him take me to go work out. So
but like that, therein lies like that's where I crafted and honed humility, which to the listeners, I don't know where they are with their spiritual beliefs, but my humility, I don't cultivate it myself. I realize my humility is a grace given from God. And it's only with that that I can sit there and continually lose that and continually keep my perspective right.
absolutely. So yep, trauma will take someone with the youth and ego and those things that you know I I'm God's gift to humanity. Not that that was you, but that's it. Definitely changes you from that childlike view of the world revolves around me to building that humility of a good man that we'll get into next. And our conversation has already kind of based around what we're going to talk about here. But what is your characteristic that defines a good man? If you thought of every man in your life or the best men in your life, what what are big characteristics that they have?
Integrity. This is something that stemmed from my father, his father, and as long as I've met any man that I look up to or admire, you as a family man, like I look at this guy, I'm like, wow, like if I can strive to be half as honest a man as this person, then I'm succeeding at being a father. So integrity is probably the biggest one. Um, Humility, again, we already touched on that. I'm not gonna beat that to death, but staying humble, it's okay not to have all the answers to everything. It's okay not to be overly opinionated. And you're going to see this in this day and age with social media and how everyone's connected. Everyone's got an opinion and everyone's wants to armchair quarterback any topic. It doesn't matter if it's political, social, cultural, religious. It's okay to have opinions, but also don't forget the humility behind expressing those opinions. And it's okay that people have a belief different from yours. It doesn't make them inherently your enemy. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
But yeah,
You
all the men I've met, integrity, honesty, humility.
awesome. And just like you said, it's okay to have a relationship with people who have different beliefs than you. It's a crazy thing to think about in today's world, and it seems like the whole world is against that idea. But if you can't build a relationship with someone with differing views, then you're going to hamstring yourself in the real world.
Absolutely.
Awesome. Well, the last conversation piece that I've got for today is, what piece of wisdom would you pass on to a mentee, somebody younger than you that wants to end up where you are, or the next generation as a whole?
that's that's such a big question.
It is. It's almost like I'm trying to have a conversation with you.
Right? So, God, that's such a good question. You got your like cliche, don't give up, never surrender, there's something something something, right? I think for a man in this day and age, uh is very important to find yourself a passion that provides for you and your family. And when you do that, you're able to sit there and embark on this career path, whatever it could be. If you want to go fly, awesome. Flying is so cool. You should do it. It's amazing. But whatever other career path there is, find something that you are undoubtedly passionate about. Like you have an innate drive. Like you wake up and there is a part of you that's like, yeah, I'm going to do something that I love. And it's also something that I'm going to be able to provide. So you find something that aligns with those two ideals for you. And listen, nothing in the world's going to stop you.
Absolutely. So to generalize that a little bit, um, there's something that when you do, it adds energy to your life. It adds happiness. It adds joy. And there is a way that you can take that and you can make money with it. And if you go to work for the next 40 years or however long you've got, however many, 60 years, 100 years, they might figure out ways to make us live longer. But if you can do something every day that makes you happy, it's a world of difference over doing something every day that you're forced to do for your paycheck.
Hmm.
So, you know, you got to take what you currently have and, build the relationships with the people around you for the job that you have now. But absolutely, I couldn't agree more. Find something that makes you happy in doing that activity and find a way to monetize it. Because if you can find that, happiness will be a part of you. And, our course is going to kind of talk about the difference between happiness and joy. Like, happiness is a feeling, where joy is a true emotion, where if it's being added to you, there's no way to ruin it for you.
Hmm.
Happiness is something that can come and go. But awesome. Is there anything else that you'd like to impart upon our listeners, viewers, friends?
With in mind to this program that you're building, and I think it's an amazing thing. Um, the last bit of advice I'd have is don't lose your sense of self to social media. Cultivate who you are, stand by who you are. Don't let other people tell you who you are.
And remember that comparing your average day to someone's social media presence is not a fair assessment.
It's so crazy. Like to try and like, all right, so comparing yourself to someone's highlight reels on Instagram is outrageous, right? You're only seeing what they allow you to see, which is like the highest of the highs. What they don't show you are the lows. But guess what? In real life, it's a roller coaster. You don't just ride a high the rest of your life. It's not all rainbows and butterflies. When we fly, it's not clear blue 22 all day, every day. We run into storms, we run into wind shear, lightning, and it's all stuff you have to be able to adapt to, right? So don't think that you are never going to have any lows in your life, and it's perfectly okay to get the lows. Just know how to navigate through it. Don't rely on this veil of glam and glory that social media offers. Stay rooted into the real world, those around you, your friends, your family, because if you're going through something, there's a really good chance that some of your peers or someone older than you has gone through it, and they will have some guidance. They're going to have some advice. Take the time and listen to them.
Absolutely. I appreciate that point in itself very much. And Bryan, once again, I appreciate your time and you coming on the podcast, on the show, whatever we're eventually going to call it, and sharing your story with us. I know that it's going to mean the world to somebody, and it's going to, help them through whatever is happening in their life. So once again, thanks for coming for the LUYL podcast today, and we appreciate you being here. And remember to level up your life.